Welcome to episode 4 of Behind the Basket. Got myself, Braden Cook, Jesse Budnick, um, and today we are going to be doing a weekly recap. So our player of the week and our team of the week. And then also we will be having a couple of discussion topics in regards to the upcoming playoffs. And then also if we have enough time, we'll fit in a quick game of blind ranking because we had a couple of good reviews from that. And yeah, so we'll start it off. Braden, can you start us off with your player and team of the week?
Yeah, okay, so my player and team of the week. I'll start off with my team, the Boston Celtics. They've had a very good week, 7 game win streak. Playing fundamentally very good as a unit. They're only 4 or 5 wins off the Cleveland Cavaliers, um,
Yep.
which is a very good kind of milestone for him. Only being 4 wins down on a team that's been that solid this year should feel like a win for him going into the postseason. And then my player of the week for this week goes to OG Anunoby on the Knicks. He's been averaging
Nice.
um, for the past 5 to 6 games about 30 points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 steals. Um, with Jalen Brunson being out, it's good to see that he's kind of stepped up and filling more of a role.
Definitely.
And the Knicks have still been winning games, so
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great pick.
Yeah, no,
Great
he's
pick.
been he's been big time for them as of late.
yeah, for
Definitely.
sure.
Yeah,
All right, Jesse, did you want to run through yours?
yeah. So my team of the week is actually no surprise here. The Oklahoma City Thunder. Again, like they've just been that dominant all season long. They're first in defensive rating, first in net rating, third in offensive rating. Like Shea's averaging 33 a game. Like that team is just been cooking like virtually all season, but especially over the last 10 games. Like you say, 10 game winning streak. Their defense is there. Whoever they're versing, the best player's been put in the torture chamber. Like he's been,
Mhm.
he's like obviously hasn't been in that defensive player of the year race, but again he is capable of being that defensive player of the year, like best defensive player in the NBA. So yeah, for that, the Oklahoma City are my team of the week. And then my player of the week, even though he's only played 3 of the last 5 for him, Nikola Jokic, you can't ignore the numbers, especially what he did today, a 60-point triple double. I think he's like, I don't feel like this should be a race. Like, we're going to touch on it very soon, but this MVP race, I don't think it's a race at all. Jokic is the MVP of the league. I really want him to win it. He deserves it. He's been outstanding all season long. Dobby actually sent me over like stat today that um, the Nuggets are like a 20 win team like without Jokic. Like they are like compared to what Shea does for
Mm.
the Thunder, the what Jokic does for the Nuggets is just completely different. Like, and I feel like
Yeah.
that's what's awarded his most valuable player, and that's the Thunder is like a 55 win team without Shea. They're still a really good team across the park, and yeah, and then you look at the way the Nuggets play off on off minutes for Jokic. Hamish touched on it last episode when he was talking about the Denver Nuggets. Like they're just a completely different team with him on the floor. And then yeah,
Yeah.
Jokic's stats over his last 5 games: 42 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. Them numbers just speak for itself. So it's just crazy what he does on a court. And yeah, that's my player of the week by far.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, very fair. Like Jokic has been that dominant and you can't ignore that. So anyway, I'll move on to my team of the week. Jesse's going to be real happy. The Golden State Warriors. They're currently, I think, fifth in the West. They've got a 44 and 31 record, 7-3 in the last 10 games, and currently on a 3 game winning streak. They just beat the Grizzlies today in a massive game. Curry had an insane stat line. I think it was 52, 10 and 8, and also dominated against the Spurs. I know there's no Wemby, no De'Aaron Fox, but still, a 42-point win is a massive win. They've been shooting 48% from the field as a team, 43% from the three. And obviously, yeah, Steph has been a massive green light for them. Had the 52-point game against the Grizz, and he's been averaging in the past four games 26, 5 and 5 with 2.5 steals as well. And my player of the week is actually Josh Giddey. Shout out the Aussie. Um, he's been playing absurd against heaps of teams. He's been playing really well for the Bulls. He's been averaging 9 and 11 and a half assists with 3 steals a game, which is like really good. 52% from the field, 42% from the three. And yeah, the week they had, I think it was a 3-2 week. Um, and they had big wins against like the Nuggets, the Lakers. Um, so it's really good to see that Bulls are kind of sneaky, but I don't think they're going to do anything like in the plan. But Josh Giddey has been like a massive green flag for them. And yeah, it's really good to see. He's going to get paid in this off season. Going to get a uh, big bag of money from probably the Bulls. I'm hoping.
Yeah, no, I feel like kind of Giddy's starting to grow into himself now since that OKC trade. I think
Mm,
it's kind of what the Bulls have been wanting from him like ever since the trade like happened, and I think it's just taken him a while to get his feet grounded, get used to the different team, and it's a completely different conference as well as a young player, kind of just adjusting and stuff like that. But yeah, Giddy's been obviously hooping, and you can't forget to mention the game winner here, the half court game winner he hit on
yeah,
Lakers.
exactly.
Oh, yeah, no, he's been hooping, so W
Mm,
player of the week.
definitely.
Shout out.
Yeah, and I guess like go back on your point about the Warriors as well for your team of the week. Like today was like a big must win for them as well. There's like two games that separate fifth through to is it eighth or ninth, I think.
Yeah,
So I think today was a big must win for them, and it showed them that they're here, they're legit, and it wasn't just like I know Curry had a great performance, but the whole team, everyone filled their role,
Yeah,
everyone did what they needed to.
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
no, they played against, I was talking to Jesse about this. They played against the Grizzlies and they showed they were the better team. Like
Yeah,
when it came to the final minutes in the game, and that's just what you need for a playoff team. Like just someone that can like, or not someone, but like a team that can get you clutch buckets, clutch defense,
yeah.
assignments, matchups. That's just what you need in the playoffs.
On that note, Dob, I think it's just kind of ever since that Jimmy Butler trade, like, Warriors have like, before the trade happened, like they were struggling to close out close games. They were in every game. I think they lead behind the Knicks. They lead the league in clutch games this year. They played the most clutch games, and they've always fallen short. And then I think bringing Jimmy Butler over obviously solves that on off minutes that Steph wasn't on the floor. The team played worse obviously when Steph was off, and then struggling to close out games. But now he's got that second option that's reliable. You know what you're getting from Jimmy, and yeah, you touched on it in when you're talking about him in your player team of the week just then. Like Steph's been averaging 30 post the trade, so like post trade when Jimmy got there. So
Mhm.
it's just been a completely different team, and I think we're kind of starting to prove us. They're starting to prove themselves now, and yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
exciting to see. I think the West is kind of, the West is stacked. Like I've been saying, the Rockets, a bit off topic, but I've been saying the Rockets, could, first round exit no matter who they verse. But I'm just like, the more I watch them play, the more I'm changing my outlook on them. Like I feel like,
yeah,
their offense, if their offense just come along for the ride, I feel like is going to be the main thing. It's just, can Jalen Green be that scorer
consistent.
of
Mm,
what we kind of said in previous episodes? It's just where's the offense going to come from consistently from the Rockets? But
yeah,
yeah, back to your point, the Warriors have been fantastic post trade. I think that's shown.
yeah. Well, I'll just touch on Jalen Green a little bit. Pause. He's like he only recently got Western Conference Player of the Week from the NBA. And I think it was 27, 8 and 5, and he's been shooting like really like well from the field. And that's what they need from Jalen Green. They need him to, except for that one game he played against the Lakers and had 9-9. Anyway, move on from that. Like yeah, like he just needs to stay consistent for the Rockets, and that team is a really good team.
Yeah.
If he is consistent scoring wise.
Yeah. I think he's got to be the X factor moving forward for the Rockets. I think Amen Thompson's kind of shown consistently what he's going to give. Um, like like coming into the playoffs, like he's averaging he's been putting up double doubles, like points and rebounds across the board. He can
Hmm.
like throw an assist as well, like here and there. And he's Braden said it in the like our that the other day that he reckons he can be a future deep weight, and I completely agree with that point. Like he's defend, but and his brother Asar on that note, but more specifically, Amen like
Yeah,
probably has best defender in the league potential in the next 5 seasons. So
and
I think the
he's
Rockets,
been hitting those corner threes as well.
yeah, that's I think that's the thing with them, and it's developing that three ball going into next season and coming into the playoffs as well. But more so this off season, I think that three ball's got to
Hmm.
develop. If it does, like look out, like he can be really good. He has like I
Definitely,
feel like his thing is as high as he wants to raise it.
definitely right. Correct. All right. We'll move on to our little discussion topics here. I'm just bringing up a list. So we'll touch back to the MVP race,
Mm.
or race. I think the boys and I agree that I think it's just confirmed Jokic. Like, there's absolutely no way. Like, I know they lost the game, but you can't have a 61 point triple double, like, and consistently play this well, averaging a triple double, and not be MVP. I'm sorry. I can't fathom. Like, obviously, shout out Shea. Like, Shea's been offensively like absurd, but you look at Jokic, and when I think of an MVP, I think of like how he elevates the team, like his team, and Jokic elevates his team to the highest level, like,
Yeah, completely
and
agree.
it, like, I
That's what
just
the
think I
award
think
is.
it's
Most
clear.
valuable. Most valuable. He's
Exactly.
the best player in the world. He's the most valuable to that like any team, like any player is to the team. Like he's the most valuable team like player to a team in the NBA currently. And it's not also
Exactly
like
right.
it's the numbers he's putting up, of course, but it's the efficiency as well. Like he had a 61 point triple double tonight, shot 60% from the floor and 6 of 11 from three as a 7 foot big man. He did shoot 23 free throws, but again, like he's a 7 foot best player in the
It
world.
doesn't
He's gonna
matter.
get into the line.
I think
And you, oh, yeah.
so. Yeah, I think like I'm not a big fan of breaking down like really in-depth statisticals to like prove a point about someone. Like I think
Mm,
looking at the basics and like a little bit further than the basics is the way you want to go. Like instead of looking at, how people trying to nitpick how Shay's MVP by going in all these in-depth stats, like you just got to look at it from such a basic, broad term of even like what Dobby sent us today about the wins with Shea on the floor, off the floor, and Jokic on the floor, off the floor, like that tells you a lot. The Nuggets go from a Washington Wizard team to a top team in the conference. And then, the Thunder still go from like a really, really great team, like potentially one of the best teams of all time when Shea is on the floor win wise, to,
mm,
just to still a top three team. Like there's a big difference there.
exactly. Mm.
Um, to go from 17 wins to what was Jokic's like 60 when he's on the floor, even
Yeah,
more.
yeah, it was
Um,
something crazy.
58 or something. Um, yeah, I got it right here. 64 when he's on the
Yeah,
floor, and then they
yeah,
play like a 17 win team when he's off, the
off the
Thunder.
floor. Yeah, correct.
Shea plays like a 72 win team when he's on the floor. When he's off the floor, they play like a 55 win team. Like, still big difference for both, but Jokic is just another level of different there.
Absurd. Like, yeah, it's a different level. Like, you look at the surrounding cast of like the Thunder, and they're a playoff team without Shea. Like, I think they are. Obviously not a good playoff team, but they're still a
And
playoff team. Like, and I think they would
They're
be
way
pretty
better the team than what Denver would be if Denver didn't have
100%.
Jokic.
I
Yeah,
think
Denver would be getting Cooper Flag if it wasn't for Jokic, you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
mm,
big difference.
yeah. All right, we'll roll into while we're talking about the Thunder, we'll roll into how we think they're going to be in the playoffs. I know they're one seed and they look really dominant. They're like blowing teams out. Like they've got heaps of 10 plus point win games. But how do we think they're going to play in the playoffs?
Yeah. I think it's a tricky one. Like, as I mentioned in my team of the week, they're first in offensive and defensive, I think, rating or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
It's just can they carry it over is the question. I looked at the box score the other day, and Shea was being Shea, and all that, but can Isaiah Joe continue what he's been doing in the regular season in the playoffs? I don't know because as for people that don't watch the NBA as much, the difference between the regular season and going into the playoffs is so different. It goes to like it is strictly matchups. It is a completely different game. It is so much more competitive. So it's just more so can the young developing role players on the Oklahoma City Thunder produce what they've been producing in the regular season
yeah,
against the top
correct.
teams in the playoffs to elevate them
Yeah,
past it. Because they, Shea is that good, and we're going to roll into that now. But can his play style fit in the playoffs as well? Like as I said, it's matchups, it's tactical. Like it, you you don't know until you know type thing. And I think the Thunder have a lot to prove. I think the pressure's
mm,
on them being the one seed in the most competitive conference, the most competitive conference in the NBA right now. So the pressure's on them. They're young, they're unexperienced. So there's lots of question marks on the Thunder. But with that being said, you can't disregard the season they've had. I think they will, their conference finals, depending on who they get in the conference finals, we'll see like if they can make it past it. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's just can they carry over what they've been doing? I think is the question for me.
definitely.
I'd say like it's more of a how can SGA's play style fit in the playoffs.
Yeah,
He is a foul baiter, but that does take skill, as we know. If foul baiting was not a skillful thing, then everyone would do it. But how's that
Correct.
going to translate to the playoffs? So you haven't really seen it work as great for someone like James Harden. Similar kind of foul baiting techniques there, I guess you could say. Hasn't worked as well for James Harden. It's just a big question mark of how's that going to work for Shea. Is he still going to get
Yeah,
those same calls, or are they going to let them play a bit more physical? And if that happens, like how does he adjust to physicality
exactly. Yeah,
without relying on the whistle? Um, which we've seen, say, players like Luca, who's another big foul drawer, he's been able to adjust to that, where he might not
yeah,
get as many calls in the playoffs, but he's able to adjust to playing physical. And I think hopefully we
mm.
can see that from SGA. We've seen it kind of previously before in the playoffs, but this is the first time he's a contender. Like that's a different level.
Yeah, no, I agree
yeah,
completely, bro.
definitely.
Yeah, I think like the more I think about it, I was a bit uneasy, or not. Sorry, uneasy is not the word, but like a bit skeptical on it, like more than I am now. But the more I think about it, like Shea is really, really good, man. It's like what you said, like
Talented as.
it's yeah, he
Mm,
does foul bait, but also like Hamish talks about it all the time. Like players in the NBA are that good these days that they know like when they're going to get a call. Almost like a player's got a hand on the hip, rip throughs, all that. Players
yeah,
just know how to get the whistle these days. I think. But with that being said, though, Shea still averages 20 plus without free throws or whatever. So I feel like he's going to get his in the playoffs. I think it's just the surrounding cast and his leadership. Can he lead like that?
agreed.
They're
Yeah,
going to need a leader in the playoffs. OKC, like no team can win a championship if they don't have their best player, predominantly
yeah,
their best player leading them. The only time you kind of don't see that is like low key with Golden State. Draymond Green is kind of Steph's the offensive and like in the game like leader, but Draymond is like I feel like the vocal leader on that team. So I feel like OKC need that vocal leader. Like if something's going wrong, in a game in the playoffs and they look disjointed or things aren't going their way, they need Shea. Like Shea needs to be able to bring them in together. Reset, get their heads right, and like kind of get move past what's going like what had happened quickly. You know what I mean? Like just kind of re you're right, Tom.
Sorry, light went out.
Just be able to regroup everyone, like if things aren't going their way, is just what Shea needs to be able to do. And you haven't seen that. I don't feel like when I watch Oklahoma City play, again, they blow a lot of teams out and it is the regular season, but you don't see Shea and he's not known as a leader. So I think he needs to be that for them to get success in the playoffs this year.
Mm,
I'd say
agreed.
the big question
Definitely.
is if OKC win a ring, will Nick Gallo get a ring as well? The post game interview guy that they all stack towels on his head.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. No, he deserves one. He deserves one.
He's the
How will
GOAT.
he affect the run?
Okay.
Yeah, but no. I
Yeah.
think
All right.
Shane needs to be that leader for him.
Yeah, correct. We'll move on to the Cavs. So we did a little TikTok on this about the Cavs, how they've been performing recently. Um, and I think we should just highlight this again. Um, I don't think it's time to like for the Cavs to be like, oh shit, like we're scared of this. I don't think that at all. I think they need to just calm down, come back, come back and get back to the start of the playoffs. Like, oh no, sorry, start of the season. Come back to the start of the season, how they're playing really well. Their offense, obviously, very well orchestrated by Kenny Atkinson, coach of the year. And just like anyway,
Ime
just
Udoka. It's my guy.
their defense, like yeah, play really well defense. Yeah, and just you got to hope that they can do that in the playoffs when it comes to that time where there's matchups, assignments, like different teams, how they play like you know what I mean? Their different play styles. So I've yeah, it's not a jump ship yet, like for the Cavs, but I really do want to see if the lights are too bright for them when it gets to the playoffs again. Like that, like what Jared Allen said. He said the lights were too bright. Um, so yeah, it'd be nice to see how they play in the first round against whatever team. I'm presuming it's probably going to be the Hawks or the Bulls, maybe something around that.
Mm.
And yeah, it'd be nice to see what they do.
Mm. Yeah,
This
no,
is
I think.
gonna
Sorry, bro, you go.
no, my bad. Um, this is most likely gonna age terribly, but I feel like the Cavs are probably having some conversations with each other. You know, that team's got great chemistry. They've been a great unit for a while. I think
Hmm.
Donovan Mitchell steps up great in the playoffs. Plus he's learned how to be more of a winning player. I honestly pick Cavs to come out the East.
Yeah, I don't hate that, Bray, because I think the Cavs have more experience going into the playoffs than what like Oklahoma City have going into the playoffs. Like I know different conferences and stuff like that, but comparing each
Hmm.
teams, like they're both the one seeds in their conferences. Like I
Mm,
feel like you got Kenny Atkinson who was an assistant at Golden State through their championship run and like through their recent one in 2022. You've got Donovan Mitchell who's been to the playoffs with Utah. Like he's been in those situations before. He's a really good playoff performer. Um, but it's just, yeah, it's again like the people that haven't been there before, DeAndre Hunter, can they, it's just kind of like you don't know what's going to carry over from the regular season. I feel like it's very similar to the
Yeah.
position that Oklahoma City are in. Just sorry to touch up earlier. I think I said just before that Oklahoma City were first in offensive and defensive rating. They were first in defensive, but third in offensive. The Cavaliers are
Yeah.
first in offensive rating, so I don't think the Cavaliers will struggle offensively in the playoffs. It's just can they continue that um like can they be like together as a unit defensively still like in the playoffs again when things
Yeah.
aren't going their way? Can Donovan bring them in, get their heads straight, flush the last like if they're going through a bad stretch, can they flush that out of their minds and come out of a timeout and go reconstruct a run of their own or
Yeah.
kind of battle the game a bit and wear and tear it a bit because that's a bit what the playoffs is. It's like, run here, one team goes on a run, the other team goes on the run. So it's just the consistency, like from the Cavs, like can it carry over? Can Kenny Atkinson, keep like take the reins? Like we've mentioned that they've kind of come to a bit of a halt from the season they've been having as of
Yeah,
late. So yeah, can they pick back up? I think they're going to need to pick back up, and get some wins, like string some wins together going into the um, playoffs. Not because they need the wins, but just to get momentum. I feel like momentum is going to be everything for a team that has a lot of pressure on them, being the one seed in the East. Beating the Celtics in the regular season and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, the pressure's on them. I think they might perform a little bit better than what OKC might in the playoffs. That could be a hot take, and that could age terribly. But I'm with Bray. I'm low key picking the Cavs to come out of the East. I think
yeah,
they've just got the right, I think they've got the right pieces there. I think yeah, it's just the consistency from Donovan and Darius. Like I think Evan and Jared Allen, they're reliable at what in the front court, but can the back court produce the offensive scoring that they need to excel?
yeah. Well, you look at Donovan Mitchell, right? He's been on the number one seed like multiple times. Like when he was in Utah, I think it was the number one seed twice. Like when he was in Utah, I think Donovan Mitchell's team right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, is definitely the best team he's been a part of. And you look at Donovan Mitchell back when he was playing with Utah. Was playing unreal in the playoffs. Like he was getting like 40-point games. They lost to the Mavericks, I think it was, and Donovan Mitchell had like close to a 50-point game, and they lost. And like,
Yeah,
He's had the most 50-point games in a playoff series ever. I think that was a
yeah,
stat.
yeah, like, and like the man is a beast when he's in the playoffs. So I'd love to see him on that Cleveland team, which is a way better team than the Jazz. Sorry, Jazz fans, but you look at the offense and the defense on that Cavs team, and like compared to the Utah team, there was like barely any offense on the Utah team. But like the
yeah.
defense was good. They had like Rudy Gobert, Joe Ingles was a good defender. Mike Conley was there as well. But yeah, like the team comparison between the Jazz and the Cavs, I'm taking the Cavs like 7 days a week, like 100%.
Yeah,
Their
yeah.
team offensively is just way better. Like obviously one of the best in the league right now.
Also,
And
with that being said, though, Dob, I feel like since Donovan was on the like since Donovan's been on Utah, a lot more teams have gotten better. The league's got like
yeah, yeah,
every
yeah.
year that feels like the league's getting more and more competitive. So I feel like that's being the one seed. I feel like they are definitively better than whatever that Utah team was with Rudy and Reese O'Neal and
Yeah,
Joe
yeah,
Ingles
yeah, yeah.
when he was a starter. Shout out Joe Ingles.
Yeah, shout
But
out Joe
yeah.
Ingles. He was a menace.
Yeah, but Cavs again, like I'm looking at it now. First in offensive rating, eighth in defensive rating. I feel like that's kind of where you know Thunder could have them a bit statistically, but I think in the playoffs, I think I just trust. I don't know why for some reason, but I trust the Cavs a bit more. I feel like maybe because it's an easier conference, so I feel like they might get an easier run to like the conference finals, or with that being said, the finals than what OKC might have to go through in the West. But I feel like the Cavs can, they can go as far as they want to go. I feel it's just
Yeah,
can they
definitely.
carry over the regular season to the postseason
Yeah, 100%.
and get some wins. As I said, string them wins together going into the playoffs again. Not like they need them, but momentum and
Confidence.
winning games is everything.
Yeah,
Confidence.
yeah. We'll talk about some dark horses coming into the playoffs here, I reckon. This is just my personal opinion, but for the East, I've got the Pacers. Like last year, they made the conference finals, and I know it was kind of a Mickey Mouse run, because didn't wasn't Giannis injured, um,
Yeah.
and who else did they verse? I can't
They're,
remember. Yeah,
they have their offense like is the key for Indiana. Like
definitely.
they've got really good offense. It's just kind of can the defense come along for the ride? I think that yeah, the eighth in offensive rating, 15th in defensive rating, and 13th. in net rating. Like it's just not consistent enough to be considered serious contenders, considering you have the Cavaliers, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Bucks
Yeah. Yeah.
Brits. But
Mm.
it's like what you said, if anything can happen. They made the Eastern Conference last year. No one would have picked that if before the playoffs kind of really started. But as you said, injuries going to Giannis and other players in the East, like it made it a easier run for them.
Mm.
But I think the defense, if they want to be considered legit and make a serious playoff run this year, I think they need to fix their defense from what it has been in the regular
Yeah.
season. And Kentaris Halliburton, like, he's obviously the point guard, he's one of the point guards in the NBA, averaging 9 assists at the moment. But
Mm.
I think the scoring needs to become a lot more consistent. I think his scoring is, you know, it's like 10 to 15 points, or he can put up like 20, 25 plus. So I think it needs to get above if he's going to win series against top teams in the Eastern Conference and against good defenses. He needs to be averaging more than 20 points per game if he isn't getting help from like Siakam or Turner, even hard for that matter. Like if people
Yeah.
aren't scoring, he needs to be able to go and get himself a bucket to get his team going. So
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty well agree on everything there.
Mm. Yeah, no, fair enough. I think it's pretty easy to like talk about the Pacers there. I saw this hot take on a thread on Reddit that like someone said I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers made the conference finals again, um, which I kind of agree with to a certain degree. It's literally just what you were talking about, Jesse, there. Just the consistency from Tyrese Halliburton, and his overall offense, and also the team's defense as well. I really wanted the Pacers to, because I feel like they knew that their
Rose
brain
lagging.
button.
I cooked it.
I
I'm gonna
just,
start that
I just
again.
feel, I just don't feel like Siakam's a strong enough second option for what they need at the moment, because I don't feel like Tyrese Halliburton is a strong enough, solidified first option scorer. Like they don't
Yeah.
have. I feel like it's very similar to what the Rockets give. Like, similar to the Rockets, like Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green. It's just inconsistency. I feel like
Mm.
that's kind of what is. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on Tyrese Halliburton, because I think he's a really good player with really good potential, and he's developing like every year that's going by. But you look at the Celtics with Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Porzingis, like their whole starting five is
Pretty much
incredible.
very consistent and
And
like
that's what I
consistent
mean.
players.
They're like within that top five in both offensive and defensive rating. And as good as, you know, the Pacers are offensively putting, I know it's the Wizards, last in the conference, but putting 162 points on them still is impressive.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
it's just the defense, man. Their defense needs to be better. Like you see it in Mobley and Jared Allen, and what they give the Cavaliers. The wing defense in DeAndre Hunter for them. I just feel like Nemhard's not good enough. Siakam's not good enough as a defender. Like it's just a lot of question marks defensively. But don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, they have the offense to keep up with anyone in the East. And yes,
Yeah.
if Jalen Brunson comes back from injury and twinkles something, goes down again, or he comes back and the Knicks kind of can't find the right leg, and the Bucks, something happens there. Anything can happen. I agree with the take that they could go to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't know if I can see them getting any further than that, if I'm being completely
Yeah.
honest.
No, agreed. I don't see them in the finals at all. But they could have like a little fairy tale run and get to the conference finals again.
Because
And yeah.
they did do that last year, but like, I don't think people talked about that enough, that run they went on.
No.
Like they beat
Yeah,
the
no,
Knicks.
definitely.
Yeah,
Um, that was a big team for them to beat with how they were sitting at that time.
Mm.
And if you looked at all the matchups, then they didn't really look too favorable for the Pacers, but they just got it
No.
done. And
Yeah.
like looking at the Pacers roster, they've just like we were talking before about a second option, but there's just so many good pieces surrounding them. Like you're forgetting about Benedict Mathurin as well.
yeah, yeah,
The center
Yeah.
on their team, even Isaiah Jackson,
Yeah.
TJ McConnell, he's a great great
Mm.
defensive guard. They've just got so many. Obi Toppin, he's had great games lately. Another good
Yeah,
defensive
definitely. Yeah,
wing.
his
They just
efficiency
got
from the three. Yeah.
they just got good pieces around them. Which I agree, they're in a similar situation as the Rockets in a way.
Mm,
Um, because Tyrese Halliburton isn't a pure scorer like Jalen Green
Yeah.
is. But they do need that kind of pure scoring person. Benedict Mathurin can be at some nights, and then Obi Toppin can be at some nights, and then Miles Turner can be at some nights. It's just there's never that one
Yeah.
consistent guy every time.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah.
I think Tyrese Halliburton needs to step up and be a leader. I
yeah.
don't want to see him just average 9 points and just be a bum like he can be sometimes. So,
Mm.
um, if he can step up, be a leader, I think they can make
Definitely.
conference finals easy.
Mm.
Yeah, they are. Shout out Rick Carlisle as well. He is a really good offensive coach, and they've got good offensive like coaches over at Indiana. It's just again, I've said it, like we've kind of all said it. It's the defense. It's the
The
defense.
weakness in the defense. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Celtics. Drew Holiday, Derek White, um, Brown, Tatum for that matter. Like everyone can defend. Like there's a lot of good defenders. Someone that is slept on as a defender, I'll just want to shout out real quickly. Sam Hauser is a really good defender for the Celtics,
Mm.
but they don't. I don't feel like the Pacers have that. Like if Andrew Nemhard is your best perimeter defender, I just don't feel like that's good enough.
No,
In my
agreed. Yeah.
the offense in the NBA is like what we
So
said
true.
earlier. Like, offensive players in the NBA these days are too good. Like in these last few years, though, like players are just getting better. Like
Mm.
coaching's
Correct.
getting better, the league's getting better. So Andrew Nemhard is he can defend, but in a playoff scenario against some of the best players in the world, question marks.
Yeah,
Question mark.
definitely. Definitely.
It is a team effort, don't get me wrong, but I don't like as I said, they don't have a defensive anchor on that team. It's defense wins championships. So um love Indiana, love what they're doing, love Rick Carlisle as a coach, but ceiling for them I feel like is the conference finals. A
Yeah.
lot has to go.
Yeah, correct. Another dark horse is the Pistons. I wouldn't have said this last year, but this year, like definitely, I think they could have like they're kind of like the Pacers in that scenario in that regard. They could make the conference finals, like if they, but I don't think they will, but I think they could definitely beat it, like upset a team in a playoff series, like in the East. Like they're just Cade has improved massively. Um, and their team overall has just like because Kay has just orchestrated that team,
Mm,
and like you can see the improvement and how well they play. Like they play like a playoff team. Like
mm, mm.
Jalen Duren, like very good center for them, young great center, and he's just an all out center. Like you know what I mean? Like just a good
Yeah,
rebounder, good scores
to
in
the
the
rim.
paint,
Yeah.
defends. Like that's what you need in a center, and there's like most of the centers now are just stretch fives.
Yeah. He's a
But yeah,
traditional center.
he's a traditional center. Like he plays really well as a center, obviously. So and you have like Asar Thompson, like great perimeter defender. Ron Holland, shout out him, great defender as a rookie.
Yeah.
Um, and Tobias Harris playing better than Paul George right now.
Yeah.
Um,
It's I don't think
and
anyone would pick
And then you
that.
got like your six man of the well, not six man of the year, but their six man of the year, Malik Beasley. Like he's been a great scoring punch off the bench. Um,
Definitely.
and Tim Hardaway, I think he just went down with injury, unfortunately, but he might be there. I don't know. But he's a great player for them as well. Hits clutch threes, like yeah, overall just a great team for the Pistons. And I think they're definitely slept on and they can upset anyone in the East.
Yeah, no, definitely, I agree. I definitely same boat as Indiana, I feel, but again, could age badly. But I'd take the Pistons over Indiana in a 7 game series. I feel
Agreed.
like
Yeah.
just the defense is there for Detroit, whereas like as what you said, Dobby, Jalen Duran in protecting the rim. You got Isaiah Stewart coming off the bench. For them, kind of don't like mentioning his name. I don't really like him, but he brings a he brings he does bring personality to the team in a sense that is good for Detroit, what they've known to be. They've got competitive fire. It's like what you said. Malik Beasley also kind of brings somewhat a little bit of veteranship to a very young team. I think I low-key have a bit. This might be a hot take, but I have more trust in Cade Cunningham that I think and the team that he has around him than I would trust with Tyrese Halliburton and the team he has around him. Um, but yeah, the Detroit Pistons are ninth in defensive rating, but again, the inconsistency is in the offense. So I think it's again same boat as in Indiana, but
Just the
different
other
in
way
different
around.
ways. Yeah,
Mm.
the defense is there for Detroit in Asar Thompson. Cade Cunningham can defend. Jalen Duran can guard. Whereas I don't feel like Indiana really have that. The down four is obviously 15th in offensive rating. That's going
Yeah.
to need a pick up, and you're going to need Cade. Sorry, Cade. Cade
Hey,
to really be consistent, step up, and what we've said about Shea and stuff, he needs to lead. He needs to lead that young team, and they're enthusiastic. They've great coach and JB Bickerstaff, but they need a leader. The
Mm.
playoffs, as I said, is a very different game. If they want success and reach the conference finals and pull like what Indiana could do, the offense needs to come along for the ride, and they need to be led because they're still very, very young.
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah, I think I can
Uh,
pretty well just agree on everything you said. Then I don't think it's a hot take that Cade's kind of in a better place than what Tyrese is, and you can trust that offense around Cade better. Um, I think Cade absolutely clears Tyrese, and there's not much of a discussion there. I think where Cade's going and where Tyrese are going, they're both stars. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like Cade's just on a
mm,
different level. There's more
Yeah,
consistency.
I can
Runs an
see
offense
that.
great.
I can see that. I think Cade Cunningham's got the more polished all around game than what Tyrese does. I think Cade, I don't think Cade can defend a lot better than Tyrese can. You know, Tyrese is obviously the better playmaker in that scenario. But yeah, I agree. I trust Cade's offense in scoring more than I would trust Tyrese Halliburton scoring. I feel like Cade when he's going, when the team's going and they're on a run or whatever, like he has he has pieces to like an unstoppable offensive bag. It's just not polished yet. I don't feel like his scoring game is polished, and
yeah.
that's where the development is going to continue to come. He's only going to get better over the coming years if he stays healthy. Um, but yeah, I think yeah, I don't think Cade's offense is polished yet. But again, if he can lead, if he can be a vocal leader for that Pistons team, they have a lot of energy. Also, someone we also haven't mentioned quite quickly is Dennis Schroeder coming off the bench for them. I feel like before he got traded to Golden State, he was averaging 18 and 8 on the Brooklyn Nets.
Mm,
And he went to Golden State for a little bit, and now he's at Detroit. And he brings that veteranship, which is something he needs. So even Dennis Schroeder, like he needs to go out there if he's coming off the bench for Cade and do what he does and lead that second unit because that's going to be big if they're going to
yeah.
take a step offensively come playoff time.
Yeah. I think I might just be like a Halliburton lover, but I think I do prefer Tyrese Halliburton um offensively compared to Cade Cunningham.
Mm.
Um, you look at like if you need a 3-point shot, I would much rather Tyrese Halliburton like creating his own shot for a three, 100%, like compared to Cade. I
Yeah,
don't
I
think
think it's close. I think it's close, but I just feel like it's like what me and Bray said. I think Cade has the better support system around him.
yeah,
Like
no, but
he's in a much better position than, well, not sorry, not much better. He's in a better position than what Tyrese is in with
yeah,
India. What we're kind of, I feel like saying in there, ego playing better than because
yeah,
he has the better supporting cast. It's just
yeah,
the Pistons. I feel like can lose their head. I feel like
yeah,
they can lose themselves in the game sometimes and get that bad boy Piston mentality and exaggerated a bit too much, where they're not
Mm.
thinking
Yeah,
and
yeah,
don't go back to playing fundamental basketball. They keep it physical, which is good. Physicality is really good and important in the playoffs. But I just feel like, you got players like Ron Holland, every time he gets fouled, he's squaring up to players. Like, you can't have that. He needs to like mature. Like, a lot of some of them need to mature, and Isaiah Stewart is one of them. Like, he needs to like kind of cut out, like, oh, if someone gets fouled, like, they need to be able to keep their heads, like keep the aggression and the physicality. Don't get me wrong, that's good, but they lose their heads and they
and
get
then
fired
end
up.
up getting tech fouls and
Yeah,
getting
and they get
like
players get ejected and
suspended.
they lose the
Yeah,
games themselves. So that's where they need the leadership. Like, hey guys, this is good. We're playing really well. Keep up the physicality, but we can't lose it. And
yeah,
that's what they
correct.
do sometimes. And they lose themselves to their whole. They lose themselves to the identity. Whereas the identity that they create as a team needs to be a strength in the playoffs.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. One last East team I want to touch on is the Bucks. Are we considering them a dark horse when coming in the playoffs?
Yeah, I feel like if Dame and Giannis are healthy, why not?
No, I was going to say that. Like, if Dame and Giannis are healthy, I think they're contenders. Like, not even
Yeah,
dark
I think they're
horses.
contenders.
It's just
And
yeah, it's just the supporting cast for them. I feel like.
yeah, correct.
Yeah,
That's for every team though. Like the supporting
Well, we
cast.
we can't we kind of do know for Dame and Giannis to be kind of playoff takeovers though. So
yeah,
Exactly
exactly.
right. Like
You
you
can't
look at
count them
Dame
out
in
as
Portland, and you
mm.
look at Giannis on like when he went on that finals run, he was unstoppable. Like teams would be scared of him. Like
I just I just don't think we've seen the same Dame since Portland. Don't get me wrong, he's
yeah,
been
yeah,
really
no, agreed. Yeah,
he doesn't with Giannis. I feel like he hesitates in taking over sometimes. Even when he's got it going, it's just like, oh, I've got it going. Like, and then he might miss like one shot and he'd be like, oh, I've missed a shot, like, and then the coach, like the team might panic or the coaches might panic, be like, all right, well, he's missed a shot, get it to Giannis. And I just kind of feel like I see a bit of like he becomes a little bit indecisive sometimes, but I'm not worried about necessarily Dame and Giannis coming into the playoffs. It's more so Torian Prince and Gary Trent Jr. and
mm,
Porter Jr., who is very inconsistent. Don't get me wrong. Kevin Porter Jr. has like one of the craziest bags in the NBA, and his offensive, like you can see it, his offensive game has crazy potential. It's a bit similar to what Cade's and Tyrese's is. It's not polished, like even not up to. He's not at that standard, but it's not polished like the
mm,
scoring genes there and stuff like that. But it's just the role players for the Bucks I don't have trust in. Whereas like there are better role players on Indiana and Detroit for that matter. Like they have like if the role players that were on Detroit or Indiana were on the Bucks would be easily contenders and be
yeah,
considered higher.
100%.
They don't have that depth, I feel, and against teams that Celtics, Cavs, even Detroit, like they will struggle against them teams just because when
Mm,
Dame and Giannis aren't like if they go on a little bit of a cold stretch, that's it. Like you know what I mean? Like who's going to go out or who we're going to like who's going to help them? Who's going to come along for the ride and give
yeah,
that third time punch because they can't do it by themselves no matter how good they are.
yeah, definitely. Um, we'll move on to the West here, and I think all three of our teams here are the dark horses. I know the Rockets are the second seed, but like it's
People are
just
down.
that
experience.
yeah, there's doubt. There's doubt around the Rockets there and the playoff experience for the Rockets. And it's also like literally what we've touched on with every single team. It's the consistency on either the offense, like the defense is there's definitely like consistency there, and like I'm not worried about the defense at all. But it's more the offense I'm really like nervous about, like coming into consistency and like that mat for that matter. So yeah, it's more like Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet, etc., etc. Um, but yeah, the defense is definitely going to hold up. Like Amen Thompson, um, all that like supporting cast. So I think it's just a massive question mark on the offense, as we've all like we've touched on for pretty much every team here.
Mm.
Yeah, I think like when you look at the West, like I'm just got the table up here.
Mm,
So first you got OKC, thinking contenders. Then you got Houston, people just skipping over them. Then you got Denver, you're thinking contenders. You got LA Lakers, you're thinking contenders. You got Golden State, you're thinking contenders. Memphis, probably more in a contender spot than what Houston is.
Definitely are.
Um, Even Minnesota, LA Clippers, you're thinking like LA Clippers can be contenders. Minnesota
Oh,
made
yeah.
the conference finals last year, but everyone's just skipping over Houston because they kind of just came out of nowhere, right? Like we were 12th or 13th seed last year.
Mm, yeah.
Um, so, having a dark horse when they're second in their conference is a bit wild, but it is true. People are just skipping over and thinking,
Skipping
oh,
over.
yeah. And moving on to the people who have been to the final and won the championships, which is
Mm,
totally valid, but
Yeah.
they still have potential to be upsetters to the Lakers team. They can still upset the Golden State Warriors team. They can upset anyone. So,
yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the offense. Like I feel like the reason the Rockets might be getting skipped over a little bit. Don't get me wrong, the coach, Ime Udoka is a fantastic coach in my opinion. Like, I think the only reason he left the Celtics was because something happened after that 2022 season, off the court. But with that being said, though, like I feel like on Braden's point, why people might be skipping over the Rockets is because teams like Golden State and Clippers, two teams we're about to talk about, they have the superstars there, like Steph and Jimmy. If Golden State need a bucket in a tough scenario, if they're facing a tough stretch in the game, get the ball to Steph or get the ball to Jimmy, and they have that gene where they can just go out and get yourself a bucket.
Mm,
And that's what we're saying. Like the Rockets are third in defensive rating. Their defense is legit. I really, really rate their defense, but 14th in offensive rating. Like that's not going to cut it in such a stacked Western Conference. And it just kind of all goes back to the point is what Jaylen Brown and what Fran Fleet's going to give you in the backcourt.
yeah.
Because I don't think, Amen Thompson, as great as he is defensively and he can be very dynamic on the offensive end, he's not going to be your main scoring punch. And that's what the Rockets, I feel, lack. And that's why they might struggle. Their defense can compete with anyone in the league,
Mm,
but it's just offense. It's like, they hit cold stretches offensively. Tari Eason, don't get me wrong, is a great offensive punch coming off the bench for him, but it's the number one option. It's just not there for him, and that's
yeah.
why I feel like teams like Kawhi Leonard, like hot take, he's a top three scorer in the playoffs. When the playoff comes, he is a top three scorer. Like when he comes, like what you're getting from Kawhi. James Harden, he hasn't won a championship, but he's been there
But he's,
multiple
yeah.
times. And the Rockets are young. They have great energy. They compete and stuff like that. But it's just they don't have that veteranship and like the offensive power to, I feel, take on the teams that have been there, done that in the Western Conference, and the
Yeah.
teams that have proven themselves offensively and defensively like throughout the whole year. So, but with that being said, though, Bray, I do feel like Use can beat anyone. Like the playoffs is a completely different game. You just get out in transition really fast because of the stops you get defensively. So if you can stick to a game, if they can configure a game plan that suits them and a game plan that benefits them against a team that doesn't favor pace, they could upset them for sure. But I just feel like a lot has to go right for Houston to kind of make a run or upset a team. But
Yeah.
they do have the potential to do that 100%. As I said before, I'm starting to believe in the Rockets more the more I watch them.
Mm. All right. We'll move on to the Warriors, Jesse's team here. I think what you get with the Warriors, like they've been and done it. Like Steph, Draymond, Looney, like they've been there, done that. Like they know what they need. They know what they need matchup wise, assignments, etc. And also having Jimmy on there is like a great punch for the Warriors there, defensively and offensively. Like we all know how Jimmy plays in the playoffs. Like he's a like unreal performer in the playoffs, and to have him on like Steph Curry's Warriors is like really really good. And I want to see how it goes in the playoffs for them. But I think that like just dark horses. Like I think they're definitely contenders, but like on the slighter end on the dark horse, just because they started off really poorly. But everyone's going to
Yeah.
say they're a dark horse just because they started off so bad at the start. But like at
Yeah.
the start of the regular season, but now you look at how they've been, and they've been like a top three team, top four team, top five team in like the league.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just to see how like people are still rating them as like a dark horse. Like I'd definitely put them as contenders, like 100%. Like I, if I was any team in the playoffs, I would not want to see the Warriors. Like, no way. The first round would not want to see the Warriors.
Would you rather verse Lakers or Warriors?
I'm not gonna lie, the Lakers. I'd rather versus the Lakers in the.
I think yeah, it's tough. I
I don't know,
think
that's a tough one.
it's just with the Golden State, like it's like what you said, like they're 16th in offensive rating, but with that being said, they were for 50 games of the season, they were a completely for the first 50 games they were a completely different team. And since Jimmy Butler has came in the last 23 games, they are 19-4, which is
Hmm.
a phenomenal. So I do feel like since then we're still we're ranked seventh defensive rating. We're ranked seventh. So the defense is there. You got a decoy candidate in Draymond Green. You've got your superstar. You know um your offensive reliability in Steph and Jimmy. I think you got the coaching, you got the experience. I think everything is there for the Warriors to succeed. It's just how stacked the Western Conference is and how good teams have been playing all season. It's just like like they can contend, they can win the championship. But again, a lot has to still go right. Whoever they face in the first, second round, getting to the. I
Hmm.
feel like if they get to the conference finals, that it's like it could be on, but
Hmm.
a lot has to go right. We have to be able to stay healthy. Like Jonathan Kuminga and Gary Payton have gone down recently. With only what 8, 7 games left of the regular season, like you need your key pieces to be available. You need to be starting to figure out, all right, this is going to be our rotation going into the playoffs. These are the
Hmm.
players that are playing. I think the players are there, like the belief in themselves to make a genuine run this year is there. You see Draymond right after the All Star game, like you know, go on TNT with the boys and tell them that they're going to win the NBA championship this year. So they certainly believe in themselves. They just need to be able to continue to play together. I feel like continue to play, compete defensively, communicate, and
Yeah.
I feel like if everyone does their part, why not? But I feel like that's the same with a lot of teams in the Western Conference this year. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting to see. I'm really keen for the playoffs this year. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Definitely. We'll quickly go over the Clippers as well as a dark horse. I think it's pretty much the exact same, like not the exact same as the Warriors, but like close to.
Yeah,
Um,
very similar
if
spots.
you got a really healthy Clippers, I would hate to verse them in the first round. I'm not if
Exactly.
I'm glazing. I'm not like pull me off if I'm
Yeah,
glazing,
the
but
Clippers
like
are. Yeah,
they've been playing like unreal. Like you look at Zubac, he's the boys know how much I love Zubac.
yeah,
Um, he's
everyone
unreal
Those
knows.
center.
cheeks are going
He
red.
Kawhi, like he's been a top five player in the league. Like he has been,
Yeah.
not this year, but like he has been in that scenario where he's been a top five player in the league. And you look at his run at the Toronto Raptors,
Mm,
if and he was healthy, like he like led that team and like he probably top three playoff performances of all time, like in my opinion.
mm,
Like Kawhi in that finals run with the Raptors was probably one of the best runs I've ever seen. And then you got James Harden as well. He's been playing really well offensively and also defensively. Like he's had that defense, and Chris Dunn as well, been very great. He's like averaging 2 point something steals, like 2.1 steals a game, which is like fourth in the league for
Um,
steals.
yeah.
Um, and I don't think, and not many people talk about how his defense is. And the main question mark for the Clippers is the health and if they can stay healthy. And it's always been that. It's I'm sick of hearing it, but that's just how it's always been for the Clippers.
Yeah, that's always been the question mark for me. It's like I think we touched on in our very first podcast. It's just like yes, the Clippers can like the roster is there, but it's the availability and the production of Kawhi Leonard
Yeah. Mm.
solely because he is going to be your number one. Like as I said earlier, like in the playoffs, he's easily like currently right now he's easily top five scorer in the playoffs, like and top three playoff performer. Like you can make a case like when he is fully healthy and at his best, he is unstoppable. There is nothing Kawhi can't do. I really like Kawhi. The Clippers are going to be if they can stay healthy. Watch out. Like they're
Mm.
exactly like the ones you do not want to be facing them. If you're a young team like OKC,
All the
Houston,
Rockets, yeah.
yeah, you do not want to be facing either Golden State or the Clippers because they have the experience there. The teams come around,
Mm.
they get healthy. There's a lot of upside.
Mm. Definitely.
It's
All
almost
right.
it's almost funny like we talk about this. It's almost harder to like winning the Western Conference Finals is almost harder than winning the actual NBA Finals. Like
Definitely.
when you
Yeah,
break it down how
100%.
stacked it is, like
It's
even getting to the
ridiculous.
Western Conference Finals is like getting to
Just
the
like
finals. Like,
correct. Yeah.
mm,
I just feel, yeah, on that point, bro. Like it's just, I feel like that's why teams like the Cavs or East or whoever, like, sorry, the Cavs or Celtics, whoever comes out of the East and into the finals, low key might have an advantage because like I don't feel like they'll have the same struggles of whoever comes out of the West. They won't have the same struggles that they do. That's how stacked the Western Conference is for me.
Mm.
Like I feel like whoever gets the
mm,
finals, like oh we like we did all that and now we
Finally
just got to
got
play
here. Now you got to play
series
against the
against
fucking Celtics.
the best team in the East
Mm.
and reigning champs, or like the best team,
mm.
the best record in the NBA this season. So
Mm.
Um, I do feel like on that note, I do feel like that disparity needs to be fixed. I don't know how it's going to be fixed, but I feel like the conference disparity, like you look at it, like I feel like I looked at it earlier. The eighth seed in the West would be fourth in the East,
Yeah. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
like and like select like that's just like it's just crazy. But anyway,
Mm.
the I like the Clippers.
All right. We'll move on to our final segment here. This little game of blind ranking.
All right, cool. For
Can
sure.
you guys see it?
Yeah,
All right. So this time we can show the category if you guys want. That'll make it easier for us.
yeah. Show the category.
Yeah, just show up.
Light skinned dudes is the category. All right. We're just doing them as players, right?
Yeah,
Reggie Miller. I was gonna say yeah, two or three. Who
yeah.
else is a
Put him in.
light? Where? Where?
Put him at two. Put him at two.
All right,
You
yeah. Put
reckon
him
two?
two. Yeah.
Rudy
Yeah,
Gobert.
Third.
I think he's like, is he three-time or four-time DPOI? Like,
yeah, that's true. I can just go third. Third's a safe
I think
option here.
third. You gotta respect it.
Oh no, here we go. I
I
think
think
that's the
he's
greatest
one.
light skin of all time right there.
I think he's one.
You think he's won? Put his answer.
Greatest light skin of all time. This dude's not a light skin, bro. What's he doing in here?
Oh, he might
Put
be.
him
He
at
We have
might
an
be.
two.
we have an imposter
I say
among us.
I'm not sure if I fuck with this Reggie Miller at two. This is what I was thinking of. There's a lot of light skins in the NBA.
I think we have to put him
Yeah,
tier
this
two.
dude's not
But
one of them though.
Can you
I
move
want
him,
to put
Donny, or
him.
no?
No, I can't. No, no, he's stuck there.
Like the
I
This
blind
do. I
ranking.
do. I do think he deserves tier two, but I want to leave
Yeah,
that open.
definitely. If you're putting Reggie Miller there, you got to put AD in there for sure.
See now, look.
No, I don't hate it. Jason Tatum at three.
I hate it. It's
What?
all right.
Jason Tatum and Rudy Gobert on the
He's
same?
still
Yeah,
young.
right.
He's still young.
Ben Simmons four.
Damn, I
Yeah.
knew we shouldn't have put Curry at one.
Oh.
If you're putting Rudy Gobert in three, Brunson's got to be there.
Yeah, but what accolades does bro have?
Wait till we get Larry Bird, bro. Wait till we get Larry Bird and call on it.
Light skin.
He's not light skin though. He's white. Did you put him four? Maybe then I don't know. Three players
Because
left.
like I'm just thinking accolades wise, but
Yeah.
obviously better player than Rudy Gobert right now. But look at Rudy
He doesn't
Gobert's
have
accolades.
Yeah, right there.
Brandon Roy, I
Oh,
think tier
man.
4.
Four.
He had the potential to be tier 1.
Yeah, Janet Moon.
I think tier 4 again.
Or you can't put him above. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
This
yeah.
dude ain't a light skin either, man. We got 2 imposters in here.
2 imposters. Yeah, wow. Okay. Well, all right.
We'll do it.
We'll wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for joining in. I appreciate you watching. Cheers, Bray. Cheers, Jesse, for hopping on the pod. Yeah, we'll see you guys.
Let's make this moment last. Give up your